Today's message. I am super excited to be here as usual, getting back into the flow of things with you guys, and really excited to have you guys join. And like we've been kind of doing for the last couple of days, like really just building this community so that it is a place where we get to show up each day and feel empowered by one another, talk about stuff that matters, talk about stuff that's relatable, talk about stuff that can be applied to our lives for our own empowerment, freedom, authenticity, all the great stuff, to live in our values. And get to connect with a network of people globally who share your kind of open-mindedness, share your desire to grow, evolve, to love more, to be more, to share more, and to really make a meaningful difference in our own lives and in the lives of others. So yeah, drop me some comments as you are tuning in. Let me know, where in the world you're tuning in from, and say hi. And today's particular topic, I want to talk about imposter syndrome, because I believe it's actually a prerequisite for growth. Okay. And so I want to talk about it in a really empowering light. And I'm going to give you an example from my own life and from somebody I was coaching just last night. And because I just think it was a really cool session, and I feel like we could all learn from it. I learned from it, even though I was actually the coach in it. But it was really interesting and I think really relatable. So I can see Alex. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So let's talk about imposter syndrome and its surprising positive intention, which I want to talk about, like the positive intention for everything we deem negative. There's a positive intention. So this is going to be a message for you. Even if you don't feel like you struggle with imposter syndrome, there's going to be other areas of your life where this is going to be beneficial to look at it this particular way. All right, so last night, let me tell you the gist. I was in a coaching session with a man who was just kind of struggling with this sense of imposter syndrome. So he was moving jobs, all right? So he'd been, for the last 12 or so years, he'd been in the corporate arena. In sales and marketing, and a very different arena to the one that he was about to enter, which is actually to become a coach. And he was talking to me about this real limitation he was feeling in having this sense of imposter syndrome. And he defined that as basically feeling like he had nothing to offer, feeling as though he was holding himself back from environments where he was meant to be learning, the skills of being a coach and this new kind of pathway for himself. And basically, as I got him talking about like this imposter syndrome and what it was, how it was limiting him, he was able to actually reflect back in his life. I asked him, when else have you experienced imposter syndrome in your life, right? Because what we want to do is we want to be able to track back through our life. And I want to ask you guys as well, have you experienced imposter syndrome? And if you could track back in your life, when was it? What was the context? What was the circumstance when you felt like an imposter? When you were overcome by self-doubt? Maybe you felt incompetent. Maybe you felt like you weren't good enough. Maybe you were comparing yourself to others and feeling less than. Whatever it was, what was that context and where did you experience it in your life? And as he tracked back and, you could see him going into a state of, the self-doubt and what it felt like to be an imposter, and how he, held himself back and dulled himself down in those environments, and also felt anxious and uncertain and all these sorts of feelings. I could see his demeanor kind of change, right? As he entered a state of imposter syndrome. And then I challenged him to, I had to ask this same question a couple of times because he didn't quite get it the first time. The question was, if I can remember, the question was, how does having that sense of an imposter syndrome, how does that actually serve you, right? And when I asked him this, he was like, well, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve me. It makes me feel, it makes me feel less than, it makes me hold myself back, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I let him kind of unfold this on the journey. And then I asked him again, yes, but given all of that, right, given all of that experience of imposter syndrome, how in the past has it actually served you? How has it propelled you forward? Right. And basically, that challenge, and I challenge you to ask yourself that same question: how has it served you to be in a state of feeling as though you're an imposter? Right. And what he was actually able to do was recognize that when he first started out in his previous career path, he felt like a massive imposter. He felt like everybody knew more than him. They were more experienced than him. He also connected age to it. You know, he was younger, they were older. And what he was actually able to do when I challenged him to find how it benefited him to have that experience of imposter syndrome was that he could actually see that it sparked his evolution for him to actually grow and evolve. It gave him this fire, this fuel, this drive to get out of that feeling of incompetence and actually develop his competence, to grow, to expand. And it was actually then that, you know, I highlighted to him, because he'd been a member of a group that, was learning the skills of coaching. I was able to highlight for him when I first connected with him, you know, several weeks ago, and had a coaching session with him at that time. You know, he was really in and amongst that imposter syndrome, apologizing for not knowing enough and so forth. And by this stage, I was able to reflect to him how open he was, how vulnerable he was in his sharing, how much more at ease he felt, how much more confidence he actually had, despite still feeling this experience. Actually, in the past, imposter syndrome has always served him. It has actually allowed him, given him that drive and that spark to get out of that incompetence, to find whatever tools he needed to grow, to expand, and actually gave him the result of being, highly successful in his career path for 12 years, right? And becoming very extremely competent in his position. He could actually see it in a more positive light. Now, what's the benefit of that, right? Because nobody wants to feel and experience imposter syndrome and doubt yourself and compare yourself to others and feel less than and feel anxious and like you have to hide behind this facade or this wall and not be able to put yourself out there. Nobody wants to feel that, right? But what if every single thing that you engaged in, right? Like, because this is a mindset, this is a way of being, this is what I call actually a strategy of success, right? Without us knowing it. But what if we could know that every single strategy that we engage in, even though we think it's negative, even though we can see what it's costing us, what if it actually had a positive intention? What if everything that you did in your subconscious, right, was actually for your benefit? There was a positive intention behind it, and it was all trying to work for you. But left unchecked and in the unconscious, it was creating more of a destructive result. It wasn't really feeling good to be engaged in. And what if that positive intention, and I can use the example from last night with this man, was actually the positive intention of his imposter syndrome, as he discovered, was to grow, to expand, to reach his potential, right? To be competent in the skill sets that he valued, right? And therefore he could see it's actually been a strategy for my success. I've engaged in imposter syndrome to spark and fuel me towards building in the skill set that I need to be good at the things I want to be good at, right? And with that, taking a step back and looking consciously at that unconscious programming and strategy to get to success, now what we can do is we can look at it through different eyes. we can see that there's a positive intention behind the strategy, but the strategy doesn't feel good. So how can I bring consciousness to this strategy of engaging in imposter syndrome and see that it's actually on my way, not in my way. And now I can start to build consciousness around recognizing and being aware of when that pattern comes up for me. And usually it's in a context which is new to us, right? Which is the definition of the place of the foundation for growth, right? Like it's in the unknown. So of course you're going to feel like an imposter. But what if we could now recognize when we engage in feeling like an imposter and all the negativity that comes with it, and the self-doubt and the judging and of self and the comparison with others who are further down the timeline. And what if now we could go, oh, this is that imposter syndrome, that pattern, that spark. It's always at the beginning in the unknown of new growth, right? And now instead of getting caught up in it, right, with the self-doubt, the holding back, the retreating from asking questions or showing up and learning how you need to learn, what if now with consciousness I can recognize it and I can go, it's a call for compassion to self right now. It's a call to lean into my courage and be grateful, like for my courage to actually learn and grow and step into something new that's meaningful to me. What if now I could take that and I could thank that part of me that engages in that strategy for my success, and I could go, okay, thank you, right? Thank you, subconscious, for alerting me to what's valuable and where I'm at in this new growth journey, and have compassion for that place, and now choose a different experience of that reality, right? Instead of judging, condemning myself for feeling this way, go, I'm freaking brave. Like, good on me. Thank you. Yes, okay, of course. I'm not going to be totally competent at something that's new to me, and that's okay. That's the first step of the strategy for success. And now I can focus on my pride in being willing to be a beginner, right? So that I can eventually become a true master in areas that are truly meaningful to me, right? I can create a new experience of that. And now, instead of when imposter syndrome hits me and me condemning myself and feeling all this anxiety and angst about it, I can go, oh no, this is alerting me to all that drive that I have to achieve and create skill in areas that really are going to propel me forward towards a really meaningful life and existence and accessing more of my potential. All right. So now it shifts gears. Now it's fun to be a beginner. Now it's fun to be in that learning state because I feel a sense of pride in my courage to be new in the game, to enter the realm of the unknown, knowing where it will lead me. All right. So it's changing your experience of reality and knowing that you don't have to have negativity be your driver. That might be a strategy that's worked, but there's a whole other way to live and experience our lives that doesn't mean we have to push ourselves into this negativity to have any sort of drive, right? We can take the golden nuggets of having that drive. We want that fire that the imposter syndrome gives us, but now let's bring a better flavor to it so that we can actually enjoy the process and not have to live in the self-deprecation that imposter syndrome, when left unchecked, can put us in. Right. So we don't actually get to experience like the joys of the growth journey. And there's a hell of a lot of growth and a hell of a lot of joy to be experienced through that growth. Right. So I definitely want to check in with you guys. So drop me those comments. I can see a bunch of you already have. So I'm about to check in with you guys. And if I can't see your name, it might be because you're joining from our amazing Limitless Potential Facebook group, our private group. I've put a link in there this morning if you want to go onto that link. And if you just give a little approval to this system that I'm using behind the scenes, then I'll get to see who's actually commenting when we're on these live streams. If you are currently not a part of our amazing Limitless Potential free Facebook community, please do come and join us. There's nearly 6,000 of us from across the globe, from over 30 different countries, and it's a space where we want to empower each other, right? Empowered people empower people, all right? And so it's so difficult to find the right community where we feel like we're supported, like we feel like we're around not only like minds, but real open minds, people who want to reach to a new level of their potential, and it lights them up to see other people doing so, right? And so there's not enough of that kind of community from my perspective around. I've been searching for it, and that's why we're just creating it together. All right. And I'd love for you to be a part of it if you aren't already. And if you are currently a part of our community, please reintroduce yourself if you've been in there for a few years. And if you're brand new, have the courage and step into that imposter syndrome, right? And like lean into your courage and your pride in starting something new and being a part of something meaningful, and introduce yourselves. We'd love to hear from you. All right, let me check in. So I have got Alex in the house. Good to see you, my friend. And Daryl from Canada. Always great to see you, my friend. And Jeremy, yay. I'm curious if we could possibly leverage our imposter syndrome to regulate our nervous system. Every time I experience imposter syndrome, I feel it as unease in my body and my core wound of shame. It's an opportunity to merge with my shame and discover the gift within. Absolutely. Right? Like, what if imposter syndrome is a prerequisite to success? What, right? Like, what if it's just part of the journey? It's not something to judge ourselves for, to feel ashamed of. What if it is just leaning into that and knowing that this is step one of the journey of courage, right? And the more we feel like a sense of unease in that imposter syndrome, it's really alerting us to where our values are, right? Wherever we're most fearful or insecure, it's usually because we value that so much, right? So looking at that experience in our body as something to be lent into, to be compassionate about, we can definitely, reflect back into where that first stemmed from, right? That's a big part of the work that I do with anybody who'll let me, basically, is to dive back into, like, where did this come from? Where did this stem from? Where can we find it, that it's been regulated into our nervous system, right? And when we can unlock the history of our experience and we can see where things came from, and we can disconnect from things that aren't ours, and we can reconnect as the individual that we choose to be, we become the driver of our own life, right? Rather than a passenger to all the history of our past and how that impacts us on a deeply subconscious, neurological and physiological level as well. So absolutely. I love that, Jeremy. Thank you so much for being here. And Alex, makes you learn faster. Isn't the world in a constant state of competition? It's in our nature. Yeah, absolutely. But looking at that, utilizing our nature in a way that we can be proud of, right? Like, and that takes conscious awareness. So, okay, yes, if we have a natural inclination for competition in our humanness, what if that competition was for the betterment of everybody, rather than having to compete with others and be better than others? What if we were inspired by how others were further down the timeline to us, or achieving things that we're inspired by, and use that to compete upwards, right? Rather than compete downwards, which is to have to be better than others and stay above them, right? For a sense of fleeting, esteem, right? Instead, we could be inspired upwards and utilize that drive to compete in a way that we are moving the needle forward, right? We're not needing to hold others back to feel that sense of better than, right? We can be better than we were yesterday. I know that sounds so corny, but like, using our ability to be inspired by other people's successes to engage in that natural inclination for competition. All right. And so, and just again, with what we're talking about, to not expect yourself to be somewhere that you can't be without doing the work, right? And then give up, right? And, oh, I never want to feel like an imposter. Well, if you never want to feel like an imposter, you're probably never going to learn, right? You're never going to grow. But what we want to do is change our relationship with the experience of the imposter, right? Because all that is the recognition of your incompetency in a particular new realm. And instead of putting the label of I'm not good enough, I'm an imposter, I shouldn't be here, I'm not as good as anybody else here, right? Instead, it's that same experience of like, oh, the recognition, the consciousness of our incompetence, right? And going, oh, freaking hell, I'm at that stage of being very bold and courageous, because a lot of people don't want to lean into the newness. They don't want to be a beginner, but I have the courage to do that. And I'm proud of myself for that. And I'm going to use that spark and that energy and that drive to build my confidence and lean into this, right? Totally different experience. So absolutely love that. Alex, thank you so much for sharing. Hello, Ram. Namaste from India. Love it. And right back at you from Australia. And yeah, I can't see your name, Facebook user, because you must be joining from the group, but you're saying that there's something excellent here. So I'm grateful to hear that. And Jeremy, transforming fear of failure into opportunity. Absolutely. Transforming fear into fun. I love that. Wowzers, powerful shift. I love that. Absolutely. And Alex, where are you in the beginning stages of imposter at the moment that you are enjoying to learn, V? Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that awesome question. So for me, I guess I'm currently working on codependence. So I'm going into like the deep inner work that I'm doing at the moment, which I've started joining some new communities and groups, has been around utilizing the 12-step programs that were originally utilized for, Alcoholics Anonymous and people with such addictions. But utilizing that step-by-step process, which is brand new to me, in the work of codependence in terms of our relationship dynamics. And it's work that, it's stuff that is the concepts aren't new to me, but being in this place of leaning into dark places that I have previously resisted, even being a coach, like a lot of my resistance to my own leaning into my own darkness has been in, I don't really have that much to resolve in my childhood compared to other people. I just want to learn these tools so I can help those people, right? And I've had to, through predominantly some major experiences that have happened in my life this year that, like I mentioned to you guys over the past couple of videos, it's been my most challenging year and experiences to date. And basically getting to that point of recognition that I have to do something different, and I have to lean into the darkness, and I have to acknowledge things that I have previously cut out of my sphere of awareness and focused on helping other people and not leaning into this part within my own life. That's, I guess, where I'm most leaning into new learnings and being surrounded by people who've been going down this path for tens of years, right? Like loads and loads of years, and very well versed. And these days imposter syndrome doesn't get the hold of me like it used to. Like I used to very much fall in the anxious and like, I don't even want to show up for this, and I really have this question, but I don't really want to ask it because like other people know the answer, and blah, 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 all the stories of imposter syndrome. And now, like, I kind of like being a beginner, to be honest, because I am learning, and it's nice, because the groups that I'm usually in, every week I run groups in the Limitless Potential Academy, right? And so I'm really leading that pathway through my own growth and development, but I'm leading that. And of course, all my groups we're all sharing very equally, right? Everybody's got value to share and contribute to one another. But that's my comfort zone in a lot of ways. And so to be in groups and environments where I am in those new stages, yeah, like I'm actually really, really enjoying it because I'm applying what we're talking about today, right? I'm applying my sense of like gratitude towards myself to put myself into an uncomfortable arena that I've avoided for a long time, and to be compassionate with myself and proud of my courage and my growth and celebrating that and recognizing that. So it becomes an environment that I actually like. So yeah, thank you for that question, Alex. Really appreciate you being here and asking questions. You guys know I love questions. All right, and DV, good to see you, my friend. And Daryl, never do anything half-assed. Always put your full ass in, right? I like it. Absolutely, definitely. And Jeremy, looking forward to hearing more about those experiences you've been leaning into. I can see the growth within you. Thank you so, so much. Appreciate you, and appreciate each and every one of you guys for showing up today. Please, if you are already a part of our Limitless Potential community, please do share the group, share these messages with other people that you know in your world could do with being surrounded by some real, not just positivity, but just realness, right? We don't want to just like rely on positivity. Sometimes we need to be realistic about things. We need to lean into the negativity, right? We don't want to just delude ourselves, which is another area of growth I've been engaged in fully this year in particular. But you know, we want to have the right people around us. And so if you know any of those amazing souls, please do share our community. It's all free. It's all a place where we can feel safe and connected, and like we're growing and we're creating meaning and we're making our lives matter, right? We're making our heartbeats matter and sharing that journey with one another. And if you ever want to go even deeper than that, and you can come and meet me personally every single week. I run amazing groups on Zoom in our more closer knit, tighter inner circle there, and we're all growing together. We're like family, right? We want you to be a part of that. It's really difficult to find people that we really connect with, click with, resonate with, and we feel so comfortable to actually share of ourselves genuinely and openly and authentically with one another, and feel seen, heard, appreciated, accepted, and loved for who we are. Like we have each other's best interests at heart, right? When you are accessing your full well-being, I experience that too, right? If you want to be part of that at an even deeper level, you can come and join the Limitless Potential Academy, and we do our weekly deep dive sessions where we do masterclasses and masterminds. We do intention setting workshops every single month. We release and surrender our negativity, our limiting beliefs. We bring it to the surface. Like we are doing the work to reach a new level of our limitless potential always. So if that's something that is interesting to you, you can reach out to me and I'll give you the details. And another Facebook user, sorry I can't see your name, drop me a comment, let me know what your name is, but long time no see, good to have you back, my friend. And Sean, a little tied up, but I'll watch this later and we'll send the spread for about this topic. Awesome, thank you so much, Sean, good to see you, my friend. And DB, most definitely love that. So much love for each and every one of you guys. As I asked, please do share this message. Let's build this community. Let's co-create this space. And thank you again for showing up, for being here, for sharing your wisdom, your experiences, your questions, your comments. And if you are watching the recording to this, don't be shy. Drop some comments, share your experience with imposter syndrome. Let me know how this new shift in mindset might work for you. And don't stay alone. Don't feel isolated. Don't get caught up in all the devastation in the world right now. It's easy to do. I know I've been really feeling it and experiencing it. And what I've realized through that journey is that when we get too caught up down that realm, we end up in isolation and we end up projecting a lot of negativity where it doesn't necessarily exist, particularly in other people's intentions. And so if you want to wake up to the beauty of humanity, if you want to be a part of that, if you want to be a part of a movement where we are awakening to what is actually good and not shying away from what's going wrong, but actually utilizing that to fuel us to make changes that we're empowered and inspired by, and you want to be shoulder to shoulder with other people who share that mindset of making this world a better place by being your best, right? To take responsibility for you, the things that you can control, you know, the way you are thinking, the way you're feeling, what you're speaking into the world, what actions you're taking. Those are your powers. Those are where your control are. Those are where your empowerment are. And if you want to access those and engage in those and not be eaten up by anything else that's disempowering, then come and join us in the Limitless Potential community. Link is on this video. All right, so much love. Cannot wait to see you guys soon. Get involved in the community group. If you are already a part of it, please introduce yourselves. Let us know where in the world you're from, what draws you into the Limitless Potential community, and you know, what makes a great community, how you want it to support you, how you want to contribute to it. Let's co-create it. All right, much love to each and every one of you, and I will see you very soon.